You have to see this. Check this out.
Source of authority. Old religion. Authority came from sacred texts, priests, shamans, and oral traditions. Belief systems were rooted in mythological storytelling, supernatural claims, and divine revelations that could not be questioned. Example: the Bible, Quran, Vedas, and oral traditions of tribal religions. New religion. Authority is shifting toward reason, personal spirituality, and scientific validation. People are less likely to take leaders' words as absolute truth. Surveys, Pew Research 2023, show a rise in nones, atheist, agnostic, or spiritual but not religious, who reject blind faith and prefer evidence-based thinking. Hafa 2. Role of fear versus freedom. Old religion. Fear was the dominant control mechanism. Fear of hell, curses, witchcraft, or divine punishment. Obedience was demanded, often under threats of eternal suffering. New religion. Modern spiritual movements emphasize personal freedom, inner peace, and psychological well-being. Practices like meditation, mindfulness, or even modern Christianity emphasize love, forgiveness, and mental health instead of just punishment. 3. View of the universe. Old religion. The universe was believed to be small, earth-centered, and only thousands of years old. Religions placed humans at the center of creation. Example: Genesis claims the world was made in 6 days about 6,000 years ago. New religion. Science-informed spirituality accepts a 13.8 billion-year-old universe, heliocentric solar system, and evolution. Even many religious groups now accept scientific cosmology, but reinterpret creation stories symbolically, rather than literally. 4. Inclusivity versus exclusivity. Old religion. Exclusivity dominated. Belonging to the right tribe, nation, or faith determined salvation. Our God versus their God thinking created wars and divisions, crusades, jihads, witch hunts. New religion. More inclusive. Modern spirituality often borrows from multiple traditions: Buddhism, Christianity, Hindu meditation, science of psychology. People mix yoga with church, or mindfulness with Islam. Surveys show interfaith marriages and blended practices are at an all-time high. 5. Gender and power roles. Old religion. Patriarchy was the norm. Men dominated as priests, imams, prophets, and gods were overwhelmingly male. Women were often suppressed. No leadership roles, blamed as sinful, forced into submissive roles. New religion. Women and LGBTQ+ individuals increasingly take leadership positions in churches, temples, and spiritual communities. Data. In the US, 60% of Protestant congregations now allow female pastors. Barna Group 2022. Equality is slowly being normalized. 6. Focus on afterlife versus present life. Old religion. Main concern was what happens after death: heaven, hell, reincarnation. The present life was often seen as a test or suffering ground. This gave rulers and clergy power to manipulate followers with promises of paradise. New religion. Strong focus on living well now. Mindfulness, positive psychology, wellness movements, and modern interpretations of Christianity and Buddhism stress mental health, relationships, and societal progress, rather than just afterlife rewards. 7. Economic model. Old religion. Religion was deeply tied to wealth, land ownership, and tribute. Temples and churches accumulated massive wealth. The Catholic Church is still one of the wealthiest institutions on earth. Believers were forced to tithe or give sacrifices. New religion. While megachurches still exist, many spiritual communities function on donations, digital apps, or voluntary contributions. Crowdfunding, online sermons, and self-published spiritual books dominate instead of forced taxation. 8. Conflict with science. Old religion. Science was seen as a threat. Galileo was persecuted for heliocentrism, Darwin's evolution faced strong opposition, and disease was blamed on demons instead of germs. New religion. Many modern believers integrate science into faith, accepting medicine, psychology, and space exploration. Theistic evolution, belief God used evolution, is one example. Spiritual movements often embrace neuroscience studies on meditation. 9. Community structure, old religion. Gatherings were physical, temples, shrines, cathedrals, mosques. Community identity was built on ritual, festivals, and collective obedience. New religion. Digital communities now thrive. Online sermons, meditation apps, virtual prayer groups, TikTok spirituality. Data. Over 60% of Gen Z spiritual discussions happen online. Springtide Research 2022. Religion is less about geography and more about digital networking. 10. Purpose of religion. Old religion. The main purpose was control, maintain order, explain the unknown, justify rulers' power, and preserve tradition. Religion functioned as an early form of government and science substitute. New religion. The purpose has shifted toward personal growth, psychology, and existential meaning. People use modern faith or spirituality to manage stress, seek identity, heal trauma, and build communities without rigid dogma. Old religion was built on fear, control, and authority, shaped by ignorance of the natural world and strict social hierarchies. New religion is shaped by science, psychology, inclusivity, and personal freedom, with people choosing spiritual practices that fit their mental and emotional needs rather than following traditions blindly. Data from Pew Research, Barna, and Springtide confirms the trend. Traditional religion is declining worldwide, while personal spirituality, atheism, and non-religious communities are rapidly growing, especially among younger generations. Why we don't need old religion anymore. Old religion was born in a time when humans didn't have science, psychology, or technology to explain the world. It was a survival tool, not a truth system. Ancient people looked at thunder, eclipses, diseases, and death, and without knowledge, they invented gods, spirits, and myths to fill the gaps. These stories gave order to chaotic lives, but they also came with fear, control, and manipulation. Religion was the first form of law, medicine, astronomy, and politics. Yet today, we have actual law, real medicine, proven science, and functioning governments that don't require divine approval. We no longer need old religion because the very functions it served are outdated. Where religion once explained natural disasters as punishments from gods, we now know about tectonic plates, weather systems, and climate change. Where religion claimed sickness was caused by demons or sin, modern medicine identifies viruses, bacteria, genetics, and mental health conditions, and actually cures them. Where religion tried to give moral codes through commandments and holy books, we now have ethics, human rights, and psychology that explain morality as a product of empathy, evolution, and social cooperation, not fear of eternal torture. Old religion also thrives on exclusivity. Our God versus their God, saved versus damned, fueling centuries of wars, persecution, and division. In a global, interconnected world, this tribal mindset is toxic. Humanity needs unity, not division based on myths written thousands of years ago by people who didn't even know the Earth orbits the Sun. On a personal level, religion often taught us to deny our humanity, our sexuality, our doubts, our curiosity, branding natural desires as sins. It conditioned people to seek reward after death, instead of building a meaningful, fulfilling life now. Modern spirituality and science encourage the opposite. To live fully, to improve mental health, to grow as individuals, and to build societies that thrive on reason, compassion, and knowledge. We don't need old religion because the problems it claimed to solve, fear of death, need for morality, explanation of the unknown, are now addressed in more accurate and effective ways. Science explains our origins, psychology helps us face death and anxiety, philosophy teaches us meaning, and human cooperation builds ethics. Old religion is like an outdated operating system. It may have been useful in the past, but keeping it now only slows down human progress. In short, we no longer need old religion because it belongs to an age of ignorance, fear, and blind obedience. Humanity has evolved. We now stand in an era where knowledge, logic, and compassion can guide us better than ancient texts ever could. The future of meaning, morality, and community doesn't depend on old myths. It depends on truth, reason, and our shared humanity. How old religion turns kids into something they were never meant to be. Old religion does not raise children to be creative, independent thinkers. It turns them into programmed followers. From a young age, kids are told what to believe before they even learn how to think. Instead of being encouraged to explore, question, and imagine freely, they are taught that curiosity is dangerous, that doubt is sinful, and that blind obedience is a virtue. This conditioning doesn't make children smarter. It turns them into repeaters of tradition, unable to challenge authority or ask, why? When a child is told that the world was created in 6 days, or that all morality comes from an invisible being watching their every move, their natural curiosity is redirected away from discovery and toward fear. Instead of asking how things work, they are forced to accept who supposedly made them. This doesn't produce creativity, it suppresses it. Creativity thrives on experimentation, mistakes, and exploration, but religion often punishes those exact behaviors. Psychological studies show that children raised in highly religious environments are more likely to adopt rigid thinking patterns and less likely to engage in abstract or critical reasoning. In contrast, children encouraged to ask questions and explore multiple viewpoints develop higher problem-solving skills and more flexible intelligence. Old religion, however, turns kids into conformists, people who accept authority without evidence. That might make obedient followers, but it doesn't make inventors, scientists, or visionaries. Instead of turning kids into smart problem solvers, old religion often turns them into guilt-driven adults who second-guess themselves, fear punishment, and struggle with autonomy. But when that is crushed under centuries-old doctrines, they don't grow into what they could be. Old religion doesn't turn children into leaders, thinkers, or creators. It turns them into servants of ideas they never chose.